Tina, you've been buying Bitcoin since $1.
Yeah.
That's OG status.
Yeah, I did. I bought like 1,000 of them. And then sure enough, it went to 3,000. And then I sold them.
So you go to Antarctica and you go this fully charged, you bring your Bitcoin node and you bring your Starlink. Could you send a Bitcoin transaction from the South Pole?
Yes.
That's incredible. Can you tell me what has been the most impactful story that you've heard about someone having one of your guys' satellite phone products that really touched you, that you heard that story and you're like, oh my God.
Probably the Christian group in the Congo that were able to flee the village because they got a satellite phone call to tell them.
Really? Yeah, welcome to another episode of Simply Bitcoin IRL. Today, I'm joined with Tina Blanco and Eric Tallman from sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about taking sovereignty of your money. It's also about taking sovereignty over your life. And that's why I have these two individuals with me today. Tina is actually a Bitcoin OG. We were talking before. We actually met at the Bitcoin conference, and she was walking around with these Faraday / EMF bags. We're going to talk about those a little bit later. And what did I tell you, Tina? I was like, I need to buy one. Like, this is fantastic. But Tina and I have been talking, and Tina, you've been buying Bitcoin since $1.
Yeah.
That's OG status.
Yeah, at the beginning of it. But yeah, you said, can I buy this Faraday bag? And I'm like, no, but you can have it. Yeah, and I think that's where we met. And then you jogged my email and then you sent me an email. So it was shortly after. But yeah, so I started with Bitcoins. My son introduced me to him. He was like 13 or 14. And he's like, Mom, you have to buy this because it's going to double. It's been doubling. It was like 50 cents and then it went up to $2 and now it's $1. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, I don't know what it is. So I did. I bought like 1,000 of them. And then sure enough, it went to 3,000. And then I sold them like, wow, thank you, son. You've made me a lot of money. So I was really excited. And then I'd watch it and then it went up to like, $9. So then I would buy it at $9 and sell it at $12. Yeah. So that's kind of like my introduction to the Bitcoin industry is I was early on. Unfortunately, I sold as I made money every time.
Yeah, it's that story is more common than people think, because you guys have to remember, like, Bitcoin started in the very early days. It didn't have the legitimacy that it has now, right? It didn't have that like kind of regulatory approval. It was like this magic internet money. So like hindsight's 2020, right? So a lot of the early OGs that got in, they sold a lot of those Bitcoin because remember, they're holding from $1 or 50 cents and then it goes to $100 and they're like, oh my God, like I made a killing, right? Not knowing that, it was eventually going to go to $100,000. So in those early days, I've heard those stories so many times. But Tina, you were telling me earlier that one of the incentives that you would give your employees, you would offer them Bitcoin initially, as like, one of their sales incentives and stuff.
Yeah. So Eric was my business partner at the time. And our company we were small. We were only like $5 million company a year, and we had like 30 some employees. Yeah. And we couldn't afford to do 401k. So I thought, you know what, this Bitcoin, all this crypto stuff that we're buying really cheap right now, it is going to like skyrocket in the future. So I told all my employees, I'm going to give you this Bitcoins, Ethereums, XRP. So we were buying XRP for like 2 cents at the time, 1 cent, 2 cents, buy millions of them. And then we're like, we're going to give this to you. And then in the future, it's probably going to be better than 401k if you hold it. And they were like, so I got everybody to open an account with, at the time it was Polonix. And then we would buy them. And then the incentive at the end of the month, if we hit our goal, we would, divide it equally between everyone. And that's kind of like what we did. So we were right, if they would have kept it. But that was the one thing that we did do that, I think we're very proud of about doing because we kind of predicted where Bitcoin would go very early on.
Yeah, it's again, if you're buying Bitcoin at $1, that's OG status, and it's so crazy that you're offering that as part of the compensation for your employees. And again, one of the things that you were telling me is like they would be millionaires right now if they just would have held. But again, that I've heard that story so many times. There was a lot of uncertainty back then. It's not like it is now where Bitcoin seems to be like a sure or bet. Before I talk about SAT123, Tina, one of the things that you told me outside that I want to focus on, which is this idea that you believe at the end of the year, Bitcoin is going to be at $250,000. And then at the end of 2026, you believe it's going to be at $1 million. What is the reasoning behind that?
Well, it is limited. And then I see at how much cash is being printed and just in the last 10 years. But you can't print Bitcoin. And I think now that our government has changed its mind toward it and the way that things are going, there's so many Bitcoins that are lost as well. I don't think anybody really knows how many Bitcoins that are completely gone. So it's a very limited currency. And it's going to come a time where probably not very many people that will have actual Bitcoin. It'll just be like 1/1,000,000th of a Bitcoin or 1/1,000th of a Bitcoin. But yeah, I think because of the limitation and because of the printing of so much money, not just us, I think the rest of the world too. And this is a worldwide currency. So to have such a limited amount worldwide usage, it's not going to stay at 118,000 today. Last month it was 107, and everybody thought that's crazy. It's going to go below 100,000. The other sign for me is that there's a lot of people that are telling me I'm just waiting for it to go below 100,000 to buy into it, and that's a really good sign that this thing isn't going to go below 100,000 at this time, because people that are waiting for it to go below 100,000, they're going to buy it at $250,000. Yeah. But I believe that it continues to rise at about $10,000, $20,000 every couple of weeks.
And you have a pretty good track record, right, of having the foresight to see these things. Now, Eric, passing on to you, I think one of the reasons that me and Tina hit it off very early on was Bitcoiners inherently believe in this idea of sovereignty, and there is different types of sovereignty, but I think it needs to be all encompassing for you to become a sovereign individual. It's not just about taking your Bitcoin and putting it into cold storage. It's also about being sovereign. And what does being sovereign mean? It means not depending on the grid. It means not depending on the cellular networks. It means being able to go in the middle of the forest, build your Bitcoin citadel, and not have to rely on any infrastructure. And I think this is one of the things that attracted me to your guys' company, is that I love the way that I say it, which is basically this is your number one stop for, building your Bitcoin citadel. So could you talk a little bit about what your guys' mission is at SAT123 and what you guys offer?
Yeah. I mean, we didn't really design it for miners or Bitcoin peoples. We designed it for businesses and regular people to have backup phone, internet, power, and then that's evolved into Faraday bags and bulletproof backpacks and solar panels and batteries that run your whole home. But it does fit nicely, I think, into the mindset of people who invest in Bitcoin. It's often say the internet is like water and air. You can't see it, but you take it away, and people freak out really quick. How do you get on the internet? How do you trade this? How do you do that? So it's really kind of like a joy to be able to provide that to people. And I think we've made it easier than anybody, putting everything in one little basket. Here's all the little things you need, and I get the joy of testing them all out, the batteries, the cables, the adapters, test on a boat, test in the mountains, test outside. So, but yeah, that's pretty much what we're doing.
Yeah, and I think we also made it affordable. Previously, just to let you know, years and years ago, you'd have to spend about $5,000 to $10,000 to be able to use to get a satellite phone, and only government, military, had the ability, or the monies to pay for these things. So the price has gone down quite a bit. The phones have gotten better, more satellites, and in this phone, even though this phone's about $1,300, we do offer it for free. You just sign up on the service. It's just 24-month agreement, and the phone is free. So that the first bill isn't going to be, like a $2,000 bill. It's just going to cost you about $300 because you have to pay the tax on the phone. The phone's included. So, and I think making it affordable is really what kind of...
That's what we did different pretty much, is we took a $1,000 plus device, and even the Starlinks that we offer, we give them away on a monthly plan, which makes it more accessible to more people. So that's really what we've been doing.
So one of the things that I love about you guys' products, right? And I'm looking at approaching it from like a Bitcoin mindset, right? Okay, let's say my, house power goes down, right? We live in Florida, right? Hurricanes hit all the time, power goes down. And, I value using my own node. I don't trust someone else's node. I don't, give that to a third party. So I use my own node. So what happens when the power goes down? Usually the internet goes down with it, right? It's a hardwired in. What do? Well, you guys provide battery backups and you guys provide the Starlink. So I can plug in my node to the battery backup and to the Starlink, and I could transmit a Bitcoin transaction using my node, completely not having to rely on the grid, which is absolutely fascinating. And you can get all this stuff at your guys' store. It's at 123.
Yeah, and I mean, some of this stuff like Starlink, you can go to Walmart and get. And what we do differently is we have 24/7 support, and we have the cases and the adapters and the battery packs and the solar you need to make the whole thing run the way you want to make it run.
Yeah.
Which I think is the cool thing that we do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do want to talk about some of these, EMF Faraday bags that you guys offer. And I've put some goodies in some of these. Could you explain what a Faraday bag is?
Well, a Faraday bag is basically going to stop any transmission of any wireless signals. So Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, 5Gs, whatever it may be, any G, any frequency for the most part is going to be blocked out by this bag. You can almost think of it as like a metal cage for your devices. It's essentially what it is.
Gotcha. So basically, and it also stops, like, let's say, someone you put your device in here and they want to be able to read what is on the device. It also stops that as well, correct?
Yeah, you're not going to be able to pick up any RF chips from your credit cards or passports or anything like that if it's in one of the Faraday bags.
So it's a perfect place to put a hardware wallet for those reasons, right? And I have a cold card in here, right? But it's a perfect place to put it in here. This basically stops any nefarious actor from essentially being able to kind of scan it. And these, it has it off by default, but these do have NFC. Right. And NFC can be, it can be tapped. Right. So it stops that. And then also they're anti-EMF as well. So right. Tina, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So the Faraday bags do three things. It protects from an EMP attack. Should we have an EMP attack, guess what? You're going to lose all your crypto if you don't have it in a Faraday bag. If you have a cold wallet, you will lose it because your electronics will all be dead. And the bad guys today, if they're going to attack us, they're not going to attack us with bombs. They're going to attack our infrastructure. That with EMP, it's very easy for them to attack us with EMP, plus solar flare. If there's a huge solar flare, there's a good chance if your electronics might be affected. And if you have your crypto in one of those, and if it's not in a Faraday, there's a good chance you could lose all your crypto. So it's really good to have as a cold wallet. And then also, a lot of people, what they do is they put it, they take it off the, computer and they put it in their wallet and then they store it in their safe. It's still not safe because people can still get it from, copy it from the safe. They can still copy your key fob, even if it's inside the safe. But when it's inside the Faraday, it's totally protected. The other thing, what you said from EMF, and that's a radiation. If people would just give this a try for 1 week, if you just take your phone and instead of putting it right next to your head when you go to sleep at night, you put it in a Faraday bag, then you put it next to your head. You can still listen to music. You can still hear your alarm, but you're not transmitting any EMF. You'll notice that you will have a lot less headaches. A lot of people wake up with headaches thinking, I need more coffee, or there's something wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you. You're putting the phone right next to your head every single night when you go to bed. I see a lot of teenagers put it underneath their pillow, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's less like, it's insane, because it is just totally, cancer causing, and cancer is so rising in younger and younger generation. So protect yourself and protect your family from EMF. And the other thing, it gives you privacy. If you just want to have privacy and you don't, and people can follow you, look, big tech is following you whether you like it or not. Google and Apple, they know where you're at. They know where you sleep, the room you sleep, because you put the phone down overnight, so they know that you're sleeping. They know when you wake up, because the minute you take your phone and look at it, your messages start to come in, because they know that you are up. They know everything about you. Disturb your digital footprint. Have your phone in a Faraday bag at least 8 hours a day, to protect from people being able to know exactly where you go, exactly where you shop, exactly where you eat, because then they sell all this information. They make a lot of money on you, and you don't get anything of it. You don't get paid for it. So I always say, for your health, put your phone at least while you're sleeping at night, and then another 4 to 5 hours during the day, so that your tracking can be disturbed, so you can't be followed. And then also protect your important digital monies. So this way, if there is an EMP attack or a solar flare, a major solar flare, that your electronic is protected.
Absolutely. Fry's Electronics, there's this very famous, called the Carrington event. And it was a giant solar flare. I believe it was in like the early 1900s. And again, back then, like, electricity in the grid was in its infancy, but it still fried everything, and it was catastrophic. So Tina's absolutely right. Protect your electronics. And the way you do that is Faraday bag, right?
Yeah.
Also, protects against privacy, and the EMF thing is very interesting. I had a conversation with Dr. Jack Cruz, and he's all about the sun, and how the health benefits of the sun, but he also talks about the dangers of EMF. So EMF, I think, stands for I don't know the exact
electromagnetic field.
There we go. And essentially, it's the radiation that's emitting from your electronic devices, right? So it's probably not a good idea to, have your phone next to your head that's emitting all this data, right? The Wi-Fi signal's in the air. The phone's getting it. It's probably not a good idea to put that next to your brain, right? So yeah, and then this protects you from that. So it kills 3 birds with 1 stone.
I think it's kind of ironic. It comes from people who've run a mobile satellite company for years, that you come out with, our own bags, because we know the dangers of RF and EMF and satellite communications, and our regular phones too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and we work with a lot of functional doctors that have done a lot of studies that we record podcast with as well, that gives us a lot of this information. And one of the things that Dr. Williams always tells all of her patients, patients, is distance is your friend. Keep the phone about 10 to 15 inches away from your body. There's a high rise in thyroid cancer with a lot of people, a lot of younger and younger people, and a lot of people that have thyroid cancer don't know it because there's no symptoms. But the radiation that comes from the phone is right on the bottom, where people, when they hold the phone like this, it's right there, and it's right on their thyroid. And that's been a big thing. So distance, keep your phone in a Faraday bag, get some other Faraday, get Faraday blankets, other things, so that you can protect yourself when you're sleeping at night. Do what you can, cover your, or turn off your internet at night when you're sleeping, because you don't need it.
Yeah.
Make sure the other thing that the doctor recommended, if you notice, next to your smart meter, most people have smart meters next to their kids' bedrooms. Make sure you know where your smart meter is. Make sure it's not next to the kids' bedrooms. And Dr. Williams said that if you go outside and look at your smart meter by your house and find it, you'll notice even the plants and the bugs are dead around it.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. Yeah, and it's something not talked about enough. Like it's starting to become popularized, like especially within the in the Bitcoin industry, the Bitcoin space. Like people are tuned into it. Dr. Jack Cruz, he has a big presence, you know, and he's always talking about like EMF, the dangers of EMF. And it's so true, right? And you guys don't only sell these EMF bags, but you guys sell, which my wife went absolutely crazy, Internet Sophie, when she saw this. This is for the plane. And planes are like, I don't call them planes anymore because of the amount I travel. So I call them aluminum transportation devices because that's what they feel like. But they're, you know, the amount of EMF there, and then not only that, the radiation that's coming from the sky because you're so high up in the ozone layer. And you guys have an anti-EMF blanket that you can wear on the plane.
Yeah, it's 3 layers of so EMF material is silver and copper infused material. So this has 3 layers. So we have the larger ones too. And we are going to be coming out with t-shirts and other products, boxers and other things pretty soon because another study is showing that we are depopulating ourselves. The government did a study, just want to let you know, with rats. And after the 4th generation, there were no more rats. They exposed them to the exact amount of EMF as humans. So it is going to depopulate us pretty quickly with men putting phones in their pockets. Yeah. So anyway, so we're coming up with other products. They're all in testing right now because we have to make sure that these products that we promote are working. So the t-shirts and other products are in testing to make sure that, you know, when they do come out, that they actually work really good. But yeah, it's a big issue, I think, in the world that's happening right now that we're not used to. And it's just, you know, you wonder why was it 1 out of like 50 people would get cancer years and years ago. And now it's 1 out of 5. And then pretty soon it's going to even get worse by the time we're 60.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, it's the rise of people, the rise of people getting blue light, again, exposure to EMF, and people are not getting sun, right? It's the reality of that, right? So I love this. This is something that is, again, becoming more and more popular. This whole, you know, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you'd have this discussion and it would be the norm of people just holding it to their heads. I think people are waking up to that reality. Now, I kind of want to go back to the Iridium phone. So tell me how this works. What's the setup process? And then what's the coverage? Like, what if I'm in Antarctica on the South Pole?
You need.
Will I be able to make a phone call back home?
Yeah. That's the only phone on the planet that can make a call from Antarctica. There's 2 or 3 other satellite companies out there. MRSat doesn't cover the poles. Geostationary, meaning it's 24,000 miles away. Iridium are only 500 miles away, so kind of similar to Starlink satellites. They're pretty close to Earth. You're going to be able to take that phone out and make a call in under usually about a minute. There's no other device on the planet that you can do that with. You can call from anywhere to anywhere for one rate. So it's not like it's a different rate if you're calling a South African mobile phone or a landline in the US. It's the same rate, which is pretty cool. So those phones are working off of 66 plus satellites. Iridium's got them in a constellation that goes around the Earth so that pretty much every point of the whole Earth, even if you're between a few mountains, and, you know, we do satellite for large companies and regular people alike. Sometimes we're in downtown New York, we're in San Francisco, or in Tokyo or London, and we only got a little bit of sky to work with. And that's the only satellite phone that will work in those conditions. Yeah. You know, the other satellite phones and devices out there are going to need to be able to see a satellite on the horizon. So Iridium, very similar to Starlink, whereas Starlink does the internet at low Earth, Iridium does the voice at low Earth, I like to say.
Yo, I want to tell you about the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack, bitcoinwell.com. What makes Bitcoin Well different? What makes it unique? It's an automatic self-custody Bitcoin on-ramp. What does that mean? That means that when you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, as soon as the funds clear, it goes straight to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet address, which perfectly aligns with the Simply Bitcoin ethos, because after all, self-custody is the revolution. By the way, If you go to bitcoinwell.com/simply, as soon as you make your first purchase, you get 3 opportunities to win up to 1 million Satoshis just for signing up and buying a little bit of Bitcoin. Seems like a win-win. What are you waiting for? Go to bitcoinwell.com/simply today. Could you tell me any stories? I'm going to start with you, Eric,
Yeah,
and then I'm going to go with Tina. Where are some stories that you've heard where this thing has literally been a lifesaver? Because I could talk a little bit about Miami. So like Miami, again, it's in the hurricane alley type of, it's Florida, hurricane season comes. And then every couple of years or so, there will be kind of like an indirect hit or close hit, but essentially the power goes down for a couple of weeks, right? When the power goes down, you don't have, especially back in the day, you didn't have any type of ability to connect to a cellular network. Also, how would you charge your phone, right? So could you tell me what has been the most impactful story that you've heard about someone having one of your guys's satellite phone products that, really touched you, that you heard that story and you're like, oh my God, like
Maybe Puerto Rico?
Yeah, Puerto Rico was huge.
We got a ton of stories,
Hurricane Maria. Yeah.
well, what's the one that sticks out to you the most?
Probably the Christian group in the Congo that were able to flee the village because they got a satellite phone call to tell them rebels were on the way to kill them all.
Really?
Yeah. So
Wow.
it literally saved, dozens of people's lives within 24 hours.
And you can receive phone calls on this.
Yeah. They received a call, I think, or a message that people were coming to mess them up, and they were able to get out of town like within 30 minutes of them arriving. So, and there's plenty of those stories that go untold every day. But that one probably sticks out the most.
How did you hear about it?
Well, that was actually one of Tina's customers, and I heard about it because they sent us a thank you letter, I believe, or they called and let us know.
I'll tell you what happened. It was Pastor Gazumba.
It was Kazumba.
And he wrote in an email saying, hey, we're getting ready to go to Congo, and we would like to know what's the cheapest you can do the satellite phone for, because we don't have much money and we're missionaries.
Yeah.
And I called him up and I said, Pastor, I'm like, dude, I'm going to give you phones. I mean, you don't have to pay me anything. How many do you need? And then, so they told me how many they needed. So I gave them, everything, the solar panels and everything. And you're right, they got there. The rebels came with like machine guns, and they had to escape. So they were hiding, and they called the U.S. Embassy, and then the U.S. Embassy knew people that in Congo that went and picked them up and saved all of their lives. And one of the things I tell Pastor Gazumba now, it's like, I kind of like saved your life. So every person that comes to Christ, I am going to get credit for in heaven. So you need to get to work. So yeah, that was the story. So yes, it saved everyone. And these people now go to do missionaries everywhere. So we're so grateful that they survived that, because this was a few years ago and they've done so many more missions since then.
Tina's great at sharing the love, and we all love that about her. So we wind up with a lot of friends and kind of customers, and customers are kind of friends, and helping them all over the world. Luckily, they've stayed out of a lot of hairy situations, but there's been plenty. I've had one where one of our guys in Asia, in a country there that's a little conflicted, had one in his rucksack, and the two guys are running away from the Burmese army, and one guy got shot in the back, he died. Next guy got shot in the back, hit the sat phone, he acted dead until they all left, and then he got up and ran away.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, these are kind of the more extreme stories. The really nice ones are the ones you hear about, like in Puerto Rico, especially because our people lived through many months of no power, no comms, and we sent guys there before the storms to bring phones and systems to a lot of customers, but also a lot of big companies, some government. We were the closest of any of the satellite companies to help. So we pre-staged a lot of stuff there. One of our guys was actually there as Maria hit, but we helped just countless families. And one guy couldn't go and deliver all the phones. We had one guy who was set to deliver like 12 phones, couldn't deliver the phones, started letting people make phone calls to their family back in the States. I think a lot of Puerto Ricans live in America, and they want to be able to contact their family and everything. So that was really so great to see those images and be able to hear those calls, of people being able to make that first contact when they think everything's gone or their family's gone. That's really gives you a lot of fulfillment going home knowing you did something like that.
Absolutely. And let's talk about censorship, which is a very, very popular topic in the Bitcoin circle these days. Not so much anymore since, this previous election, right? But, I was very good friends with a lot of people that, were involved in the trucker convoy that was happening in Canada. And you heard a lot about just complete censorship, and when you're relying on a traditional, cell phone, not only censorship, but also they know where you are. They can take a look at what you're doing. They know your location. Is that the case with this?
Well, it's not tied into I think the first leak was Edward Snowden with the PRISM program, and how all of our phones are tied back to the NSA.
Yeah.
It doesn't make much news, but no, satellite phones are not susceptible to the same programs that smartphones are. The computers in our pockets that are connecting to the internet and all different types of routes. These satellite phones are taking one route up to the satellite, down to the ground station, onto public switch telephone networks. So no.
Yeah. That's why the U.S. military, other militaries too, I think we did a lot for Ukrainian military when the war started. But the reason why the U.S. military uses these because these are private. They don't want the bad guys to listen in on the calls. And I think...
Especially when they're traveling, because, whatever cell phone network, even if you land at an airport, most time your cell phone's attaching to a Stinger cell phone that's being able to intercept and figure out who you are.
Yeah.
Satellite phones are not running through those same routes. It's not even hunting for a local tower, which is where, most of our devices are going. So that alternate route is what a lot of our customers want to invest in.
No, I believe it.
Yeah.
So you guys also have these massive battery packs.
Yeah, we have those ones, bigger ones, small ones for every application.
And these could power a cell phone, a laptop. They can also power, talking about sovereignty, they can also power, I'm going to hand this over to Eric right now.
Yeah.
They could also power a Starlink. So could you talk a little bit about this, Eric? Because I think this is a game changer.
Oh, big time.
Especially, if you are in the middle of nowhere. I don't want to point it out specifically, but did you guys know about that government program that, it was like $10 billion that they did it to roll out internet in rural communities, but it never happened?
Oh, yeah. We have to pay into that fund.
We do. This kind of fixed it. So could you talk a little bit about that for anyone who's not familiar with Starlink? How reliable is it? What type of internet speeds are you having? And again, guys, I'm going to focus on this. With this, you could power up your Start9 node, and then you can connect your Start9 node to the internet using that right there.
I'll talk about where it is today, and we can slowly go backwards. So where it's at today is we're seeing over 200 megabits a second on the download speed. And then on our upload speeds, we're seeing anywhere between 10 to 20 megabits. You're going to see different speeds depending on where you're at in the world. If you go to a heavy congested area, might change a little bit, but all my testing from the East and West Coast down South America up into Alaska this year has been great. Anything you want to do IP-based, like what you're describing, is capable of, has built-in Wi-Fi. Now, it can be powered off of as little as 100 watts of power. And we like to use USB-C, which is the latest USB style of charging. It can provide 100 watts, which basically is 20 volts at 5 amps is what the device needs. So we can do it off of a cigarette lighter that we sell, a special one. We can do it off the battery pack. And that way you can pretty much take this panel to your house, to your remote home, anywhere in the world, and still have same level of connectivity you'd get pretty much at a residence or off of a
Bitcoin Citadel. And then what's the technical know-how that you'll need to install one of those things?
I've been doing satellite for 18 years and it's never been this easy. Literally we can send this to anybody, an 8th grader all the way up to a senior. And we've been able to get everybody online with almost hardly anybody calling in for support. But the way it works is you power it up, you join the Wi-Fi, you change your Wi-Fi password. You might have to wait a few minutes for it to download and update. But after that's done, it's really just plug and play. You fire it up, you got Wi-Fi anywhere.
And you could power it up with this battery right here.
That's slick, yeah. So that battery can probably run this device for about 6 to 7 hours continuously, which is pretty awesome. So I find that you don't really want to be using it more than that in a day. You might want to jump on for an hour or two, depending on what your situation is. But usually as I'm traveling around either in the mountains or offshore or in the swamp doing my stuff, my hunting, I'm going to light one of these up for a couple hours, check the weather, check my emails, check my stocks, whatever I got going on, and get back off with still plenty of juice. In a hurricane style situation or in like an all calms down situation, you know, this is being repowered by one of our solar panels, or if you have a small gas or propane generator, you know, it's recharging something like this. And then we're also powering the Starlink. So we give the Starlink a nice buffer of power.
So essentially, right, like let's say you're like, I'm just going to run this by you, see if it's possible, right? Let's say you go to Antarctica. It's probably a pretty good content idea. You go to Antarctica, right? And you go this fully charged, you bring your Bitcoin node and you bring your Starlink. Could you send a Bitcoin transaction from the South Pole?
I always like to say we have to test it first. You know, but I'm gonna go ahead and say that's a most likely yes.
That's incredible. And again, completely off grid, right? Just using independent power and then using the Starlink network. That's orbital.
This all has been out for almost a year. So for me, it's like almost already like this is all we know now. This is what we're doing. But for the past 17 years, the concept of having a high-speed internet connection, your own little power system that can run for over a day in a little bag, you know, it's just unheard of, unfathomable.
Yeah, I believe it.
And for the price too, because prior to Starlink, we had those BGAN units, and to be able to use, say, 500 megabytes, compared to this is like $165 for 500 megabytes. With the previous units, previous satellite units, it would be like somewhere around 7,000 maybe.
You'd be lucky to get 2 megabits a second on the download. Yeah, not even on the upload. And then it was way more than what anybody really wanted to spend on it. So this has made it more affordable, more accessible, which I just think is so exciting, you know, for so many different industries and applications, especially for the crypto.
So I'm a Bitcoiner at heart, and I think this is why I was telling Tito when I saw her at the Bitcoin conference, I'm like, let me buy that from you. And I think Bitcoiners like really value the idea of sovereignty, right? But what would you say to people that, you know, they say this and they're like, Nico, you know what, like, you know, my grid's pretty stable, like, you know, I'm using, I don't want to throw any specific company under the bus, but, you know, I'm using one of the internet service providers that are in town. Like, you know, like, is this stuff really necessary? Like, what stories would you share?
Well, the truth is it may not be necessary in every application. You know, if somebody's got 2 internet connections and a battery and a generator, then they would say they can probably be self-sustainable for a decent amount of time, maybe 5 to 7 days. However, you know, if you want to get off of using terrestrial networks that have a lot of other different problems that you may be concerned about, or you want to be able to have that survivability beyond, you know, what terrestrial can offer, I think that's when somebody wants to consider. We have customers replacing their home internet with it right now. So it's not out of the question. They like the ability, they can move it from their RV to their house or to a different place they're going camping. They can take their internet that they pay for, which is almost about the same price as a local carrier, and be able to be mobile with it. Mm-hmm. And if they're going to a different country, we got to plan for that. You're just staying in the US, we got to plan for that. So they like that flexibility to be able to take it's almost like crypto, you take your bank with you everywhere. Yeah. Now you can take your internet with you everywhere, so to say.
Sovereignty, again, it goes back to sovereignty. So Tina, do you have any stories specifically?
For the sat phone, I'll tell you a funny one. During Hurricane Irma, I think it was Hurricane Irma, it was in 2017. It was just before Hurricane Maria. But it kept changing path. Hurricane Maria ended up going to Puerto Rico, if you recall. Maybe you don't. So, you know, you're so young, so much younger. That was like 10 years ago almost. But Hurricane Irma kept changing path. It was going to Sarasota, then it changed. It went to Miami, and then it was going to Sarasota, Miami. Anyways, so the day before it hits, it turned around and it started to go toward Miami. And so the Miami Police Department calls me up and says, yeah, can we get some satellite phones? And I'm like, well, I would love to get you satellite phones, but you close the roads.
Yeah.
And
Gas was out.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, okay. Do you know how we can get satellite phones? I'm like, yeah, I actually do. And I think it was the chief of the police department in Miami says, well, how do we do that? How do we make that happen? I said, grab one of the helicopters that you chase the bad guys with, bring it to Sarasota, and pick up some satellite phones. And they did.
Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah,
It wasn't the only time that's ever happened
yeah,
either.
he's like, oh, okay. Let me call you back. And then like half an hour later, he calls him back and they made that happen. So they flew in. And then the other thing, then the hurricane switched directions and it came to Sarasota. After they got their phones. And then the fire department in Sarasota calls us up and says, yeah, we need to get some satellite phones. We're like, the hurricane's about ready to hit like in a few hours. And I'm like, yeah, you guys have all the roads blocked. And also all of my employees left town, but one, and he didn't have a key. And I'm like,
that's right.
But you can go pick him up and take them to the store, break down the door, and get your cell phones. And they did. They have pictures of them with their axes breaking the door. And we gave them the authority to break the doors to grab satellite phones, and they did.
So it almost sounds like this essentially it's something that you want to have in case the unspeakable happens, right? So it's kind of like, prep type of, again, it goes back to sovereignty, right? This idea that, again, if everything else fails, this is something that, you can really help your family with. And then again, comes with the battery too, right? What if this thing runs out of battery? You got some extra battery. And then again, if you're a nerd like me, and you want internet connection all the time, right? If the internet falls, again, I live in Florida. It's happened to me multiple times, or just power and the internet's down for multiple weeks because of the hurricane damage. All these things could allow you to not have to rely on, on the, I think you call it terrestrial
connectivity. Yeah. We're space and terrestrials on the ground.
Do you need liquidity without having to sell your Bitcoin? For more than 6 years now, Ledn has been the trusted source for Bitcoin-backed lending, with transparency, security, and trust at their core. Backed by $9 billion of Bitcoin loans funded and over 1,000 5-star reviews. I absolutely love these guys because of their flexibility. You can pay back your loan whenever you want. And there are no monthly payments, so you pay at the end of the term. You get lightning fast access to capital. As soon as you send your Bitcoin as collateral, you get the cash into your account within 18 hours. Unlock the liquidity of your Bitcoin without having to sell your Bitcoin. Simply Bitcoin viewers get 0.25% off their first loan by using the link in the video/podcast description. What are you waiting for? Check out Ledn today.
One of the things that I do a lot of is set this up for businesses, because if you're at a restaurant, a hotel, and you can't check out, they're losing tons of revenue because they can't process transactions, or if they're at a bar, everyone's watching TV over the internet, it doesn't work. So actually the internet has just taken off for us, the satellite internet, because it is a bit more stable and reliable. We bond them together with, all right, you have your local connection from whoever, it's copper, it's fiber. We'll take your secondary connection of the Starlink, the satellite, and we'll bond them together. So if one fails and you're in an important Zoom meeting or whatever in the middle of a live, it is going to fail over to the secondary connection automatically. Keep both paths up. And that really was just a thing for business for the most part. But now we're seeing a lot of remote work, a lot of digital nomads, and that level of connectivity is desired. Yeah. Don't want to be stuck with just one. The old saying, to have two is to have one is to have none.
Yeah.
Really applies for a lot of our customers.
Absolutely. And then just to kind of give you people perspective, right? 200 megabytes down and 20 megabytes up. Our live stream just requires 20 up and 20 down, right? Oh. So you can run a full live stream, HD, high definition, off of what that is offering. So it's pretty fast, I'm assuming.
We're doing it with live news.
Especially the download. The download, 200 megabytes per second is not
Yeah, and if
It's
they
not
need,
slow.
and if you need more upload, I mean, obviously this is the smallest Starlink we offer. It's the most appealing because it's so easy and transportable. But if we do need more than that, we can go up to 30, 40, 50 megabits up on some of the larger Starlink panels.
Okay.
But yeah, just to say that it can be done over even the smallest one. It's pretty awesome.
I like this one because it's so mobile, right? You can put it in this Starlink case.
Yeah, man.
Or is this also
It's Faraday.
Faraday as
So
well?
this
Bulletproof, Faraday.
Yeah.
Bulletproof. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that.
This is a
right?
pretty slick bag.
So this is ballistic, right?
Not your standard Walmart bag. Nothing against Walmart, but
So
yeah.
it seems like you guys are best friends in the Bitcoin community. So this is not only anti-EMF, right? This is ballistic. So if you shoot a handgun up to what caliber?
Tina, what plate is in there?
Up to it's 3A plus. We did take one. We shot a bunch of different types of guns, and we shot one with about an inch and a half bullet, and they did not go through. Now, we don't recommend that you put your computer in there and you shoot at it if you're going to take one to test it out, because as you know, the impact from the shot, you can still get injured, but it will definitely, probably save your life.
Just as you were holding it, sorry to cut you off, just as you were holding it is how Tina recommends it. Yeah, you got that strap over your neck, you're just walking down the street, you can hold that right in front of your chest.
If you're in a line of fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it will stop the bullet from penetrating, but the kinetic force,
It's still gonna probably knock you down.
it's gonna be like a really bad punch, to say the least.
Yeah.
One of the most favorite things that you guys sent to us was this is also EMF. This is also ballistic, right? So this is literally a bulletproof backpack.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of goodies in here.
So the EMF, just to let you know, is only in the back pocket. And the reason
Point that out.
The reason why we put it in the back is so that when you're holding it against you, now nobody can steal your wallet from you when you're walking, and nobody can actually steal your wallet with digital.
Yeah.
Or your key fob. A key fob has been huge. People can still copy your key from your car key, even 6 feet away. People are going, they put their keys in the kitchen table. They're able to copy it and then steal the car while you're asleep at night. This is happening a lot across the country. And that's one of the things that you can protect yourself. Put your keys in your Faraday bag when you're not using it so that nobody can steal it.
Yeah, we got some goodies in this thing.
We do have a lot of goodies in this thing.
I've hand selected these items.
So we have first one.
AC blocks. So that'll give out up to 160 watts of power. That'll charge. Obviously, the first thing we have is the Starlink Mini. So Starlink comes with its own power supply. We like the USB-C cable. We like that block.
I'm gonna put this together so people have a picture, right? So this is
a 30-watt solar.
Talk about full sovereignty,
Yeah.
right? I'm gonna try to build it here.
There you go.
Boom. And what's really interesting about this is that you can connect this. Again, I'm just thinking about it as from like a Bitcoiner's perspective. Like, what if that battery, dies? Like, what if it runs out of power?
Yeah.
And you're in the middle of nowhere and there's nothing to plug it into. You could charge that with the solar panel, and you could use that to power the Starlink, which allows you to send a
infinite
Bitcoin
internet
transaction.
Yeah.
So you're completely 100% sovereign, not depending on anything, no grid, no nothing. You're using the power of the sun, which we're big fans here at Simply, to power your battery pack, to power your Starlink. And while you're not using it, you're protected by the anti-EMF. Are you sure you guys sound like Bitcoiners?
And just for the few people that might live in a highly cloudy area, places with not sun, we can step this up to a 60 watt, not much bigger, and that'll get us the juice we need to survive all day. So this won't work for everybody. It's only going to work for those who have good sunlight. Otherwise, we can step it up just one model.
Gotcha. And this is all in the goodie bag.
Yeah, bud.
That happens to be bulletproof also.
That's my go bag.
Right. Everyone should have a go bag, right? And let's see what else is in here. We have.
Yeah, you can get all that for the price of what a satellite phone used to cost.
Oh, wow.
That's our latest battery pack. So I do love the Goal Zero products, but we found this one, 25,000 milliamp, USB-C, retractable cable built in. These are going to be available on Sat 1, 2 free probably next week.
Awesome.
Oh, there's a little DC plug in there somewhere. That allows us to go right into a boat or a cigarette lighter of a car or a truck. And with that, we're going to be able to power the Starlink Mini directly. That's it. So we've all been working with these cigarette lighter adapters for years. They're not all made the same. These ones that you can get from us crank out 100 watts on that top port. And that's enough to recharge these batteries or your phone really fast and even power up the Starlink Mini. So I'll just throw it up on the dash of my truck, plug this in, and I can be taking a long drive and still have connectivity the whole way.
Okay, so let's talk about pricing. Let's talk about someone goes to sat123.com/simply today, and one of the things that I caught Tina say earlier, you buried the lead there a little bit, Tina. You were talking about the fact that this device usually is about $2,000 to $3,000.
$1,300 now.
$1,300.
Yeah, around $1,300. It used to be, but the prices have gone down. But we do it for free.
How does that work?
So you just sign up on the service for 24 months. You do get 150 minutes. It's the Inmarsat phone is I think $80 a month.
A little cheaper. Yep.
And you get 150 minutes. This phone, it's you get 150 minutes, and it's about $100 a month for the service. And then after 24 months, you're just month to month.
Gotcha. Okay, so you sign up for a 24-month plan. You get the phone for free.
Yeah.
Think of like you walk into a cell phone store. I mean, I like to buy my devices outright, but I think the majority of people will take and just pay, 30, 40, 50 bucks a month for their cell phone and along with their monthly plan. So that way they're not walking out the door of a cell phone store like with thousands of dollars out of their pocket. We noticed that years ago, and we're like, we got to do this for satellite phones. There's more people that need satellite phones than can probably just need to come out of pocket and pay for it that same day. So these plans allow people to get a high-end piece of tech in their hand that they can use, but not have to shell out the thousands of bucks up front.
I'm just trying to see if I could fit all this stuff in here because this is pretty crazy. And you can.
I think it will.
You can?
Yeah.
Oh, boom.
Yeah, you have everything in one pack there. I like the laptop bag because backpack covers you from the back and the laptop bag can cover you from, it's a little extra. You can get by with just a backpack.
So everything you need here to be completely sovereign, right? You have a battery pack, you have a solar panel to charge it, you have a Starlink, and it happens to be bulletproof as well.
Yep. And Faraday.
So, and it's anti-EMF.
Yeah.
So this is the ultimate, I would say, Bitcoin Citadel escape pack. Literally says escape zone on the thing as well.
Yeah.
That's
for dark
fantastic.
bags. So the website's called darkbags.com, and that's where people can find these bags and all the Faraday products. And
so let's talk a little bit about what inspired you guys to create sat123.com.
So when I started the company, there was an earthquake, probably before your time. There was a huge earthquake in Indonesia, and it was December 25th, 2004. And we were getting reports, but there was no pictures. And then we were like, oh, there's 100,000 people missing, 200,000 people missing. Then I found out later, a week later, that some of the people died because they were still alive for 24 hours, but they died because they had no communication. So I started researching, and I had a friend, Gregory Peck, that was in this business. So I started researching, and then January 2025 was when I started the company, because I think I thought about it, and I'm like, man, if there was some kind of a communication way where we can make it cheaper, where we can change things, the next time there's an emergency, that people will have a way to communicate to get help. Then in 2005, what was it about? I think it was September, the end of September, Hurricane Katrina happened. But I was so unprepared because I didn't have enough inventory. And FEMA, everyone was calling any kind of inventory that you had. No one in the world had inventory to help for Hurricane Katrina, because the first few people that before the hurricane. And that's when I really started to really focus on this company, thinking that the next time there is, I don't want us to not be able to provide every single person a satellite phone that needed a satellite phone.
Yeah.
And then of course we've had a lot of emergencies. We had the earthquake in Haiti. That was really big. We were able to provide everybody satellite communication. All the doctors that were going there to save lives. We went to Miami airport because that's where everybody goes to go to the island, was through Miami or Fort Lauderdale. So we set people up in both airports, and as doctors were getting their connecting flights, they were handed satellite phones to be able to go to communicate. And then, of course, our biggest one was Hurricane Maria. And this was a huge eye-opener for me anyways, because we had so many people in our office. We couldn't even take phone calls out of Sarasota office because there were so many family members that were just crying, trying to find their kids, their moms, their dads. It's anybody in that area that has a satellite phone. So we were looking in our database to find someone that had a satellite phone and where their daughters or their family members lived so that we can connect them. Plus we had people on the ground. We actually sent people with large suitcases of hundreds of phones to Puerto Rico so that they can, help people. And we ran out, by the way. Every single satellite phone was gone. But it was definitely, it is painful because I'm a mom, and it is painful seeing the faces of families when they didn't know if their families were okay.
Yeah.
So having a satellite phone is so important. If you live in anywhere, earthquake zone, California is so due for big earthquake, I think. Hurricanes, tornadoes, fires, cell towers go down. And what we have found is most people wait until the last minute. When we had the fires in Maui, all of Hollywood got phones. We had to deliver phones every single day, bunch of phones to LA. This was back when Maui happened. And then this recent fire, same thing. So people usually wait until the last minute, but we highly recommend it's affordable to get one. Emergencies can happen anywhere, anytime.
I think that's the key, right? Is to be prepared beforehand, right? And again, how this ties into the Bitcoin ethos is sovereignty, sovereignty, sovereignty. If you're relying on just, the networks, right? And for political reasons and also for, natural disasters, right? You don't have to depend on just one source, right? You have this backup that, you can make calls anywhere around the world and allows you to be a sovereign individual, right? This is all about building up that tool set. Now, Tina, what really fascinated me too is seeing you at the Bitcoin conference, right? What in your mind, what were you thinking where you're like, okay, because from a Bitcoiner's perspective, this is obvious, right? But from your perspective, what was it, what got into your mind that you're like, what? This Bitcoin conference, I might, some of these Bitcoiners might be interested in my company.
Yeah. So I personally have lost a lot of Bitcoins to theft, putting them in wrong wallets. I lost a lot of Bitcoins in 2016, a lot of my crypto, because I didn't log in every single day to some of my accounts. And then some of them were on loans that I lost. And then some companies went out of business. A lot of them went out of business that I had money in recently too, that went out of business. So I'm thinking, there's gotta be people that have lost or that could possibly lose their crypto with theft, because theft is becoming really, really big. And so the idea of making a cold wallet, and this is called a cold wallet for you, and it will fit pretty much anything, not just your cold wallet, but pretty much anything that you want to protect from having people scan your credit cards, your hard wallet, your phone, pretty much anything. And that's kind of what kind of got my idea. I live in Vegas. I signed up to go. Yeah. And I met a lot of interesting people. I mean, it was really a good event. I thought it was one of the best events that I've been to. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it's crazy watching it, the first big one was here in Miami. It was in 2021 during the pandemic when they had all the closures, and that was really the first kind of big Bitcoin event. And I was fortunate enough to be able to speak at the main stage, and that was kind of like thrust into kind of the industry and all that. But before that, Bitcoin was in the shadows. Like no one really understood it, and it was really last year where, you know, at the time he was Donald Trump spoke at the conference, and then this year we had a vice president speak at the conference, where we are basically, Bitcoin's in the process of becoming mainstream, right? And I ran into many people that, you know, you wouldn't think they would be at a Bitcoin conference, and then all of a sudden you see them and you're like, you have a massive podcast that's not in Bitcoin. Like, what are you doing in my industry? What are you doing in my zone? And I think it's just because it is becoming mainstream. This thing is stepping out of the shadows. It's no longer perceived as magic internet money. It's perceived as real money. And, I'm happy that we met.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money. It's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail, and hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones, they don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store.
I want to talk about it. So you guys call this the cold wallet.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So we have a large and a small. The small ones we ran out of. Those have been really, really popular, but we're getting more in about a month. This one is a large one. It's I think it runs for like $49. But yeah, it just
card in
like
there.
everything. Yeah. And you know what's so interesting about the Bitcoin conference is I have a friend who's like one of the very wealthy guy that lives in Vegas, and for 15 years or so, I've been trying to get him to buy a Bitcoin. He's like, oh, it's garbage. And then I said, just invest a little. You have so many millions. Just buy like a few years ago. And he's like, no, I think, it's not something you see, so I can't. And so I've been after him for all these years. Guess what? I ran into him at the Bitcoin conference. And I'm like, did you so I ran into him and I'm like, oh, yeah. And then I said, did you change your mind? He's like, yeah. He's like, I'm an investor now, but it's a little too late. I think he picked him up at around 80,000.
Yeah.
But man, yeah, it's kind of funny.
And it's crazy too. Also, the kind of the synergy, but you buying it at such an early time, and then you witnessing it essentially become mainstream. How has that process been like, while you've been building the business? And again, also too, so this specific cold card, and I believe the MK4 as well, they all have NFC, and your phone has NFC as well. So if you put in a Faraday bag, again, it not only is going to protect it from EMP, right, which will just fry any electronic devices that you have, or, solar flare, like you said, but also you're not going to be able to tap the NFC when it's in this thing, right? So it's a good rule of thumb. And there's actually a Bitcoin company, Tina, that they focus on multi-sig. But back in the day, one of their early iterations, one of their early products, they would send you a Faraday bag. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
With the wallets. Why would they do that? Exactly what you said, to prevent theft, to prevent people scanning from it, or to protect it from EMP and all that stuff. Faraday bags are very important. And I believe for some of the biggest exchanges, and because they have to constantly make transactions, right? This isn't cold storage that's just going to sit there for decades. They put their private keys in these computers in giant Faraday cages, right? To prevent people accessing the information inside. So this is real, all right? This is real. This is extremely useful as a Bitcoiner. And I really recommend put your hardware wallet in this. And then what you were saying about the sleeping with your headphone next to your head, which I'm definitely been guilty of a couple times, but you do wake up with the headache. You do wake up and your mind's a little bit scrambled, right? So, this is definitely something that helps.
Yeah, and absolutely. And also the blankets, we'll have to send you some large blankets. It's really good to be able to, at least the 8 hours that you're resting your body, you should be EMF free for those 8 hours. And in this way, it'll give you a better balance. But yeah, I think that these days we should, because we've all experienced, I think everyone that's been in this industry, crypto industry, has experienced a loss. And I think this is one of the reasons why my employees didn't keep theirs, because a lot of it was stolen. And they're like, you know what, forget this. And then when Polonix moved out of the country, because that's where we were putting all of our crypto into, and Polonix, I guess it became illegal or something happened to where you couldn't have a Polonix account in our country.
The Biden administration was terrible for
Yeah.
our industry.
So at that point, when the employees got out, they just cashed out because they just didn't know enough about it. Well, now we do have a lot of knowledge, and now we do have to do everything we can to protect ourselves from losing our crypto, especially since Bitcoin's going to be worth $1 million. I look at my Bitcoins. I never want to sell them, because for every Bitcoin, I look at it right now. I look at it as $1 million, because that's my goal when I'm going to sell my Bitcoin after it hits $1 million. So I don't look at it as 119, whatever it is. I look at it as $1 million. That's it. That's how I have it set up in my mind. So I don't want to lose that. And, I've lost a lot. I've even had my husband throw away, because at one point we printed them out on paper. And Frank saw them and he's like, what is this bunch of numbers Z, and he threw them away.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I've experienced everything.
Do you think we'll get to a time soon when, you go to a restaurant or somewhere now and it's 3% off if you pay with a debit card or cash? I wonder if they'll incentivize people to spend their crypto or their Bitcoin. Hey, 30% off if you pay with Bitcoin.
There's actually a very great company by a friend of mine. I think it's called Zaprite. And essentially, it gives you different options to pay, right? So someone can invoice you. You can pay with credit card. You can pay with debit card. But you could also pay with Bitcoin. If you pay with Bitcoin, it's 21% off.
Yeah.
If you pay with the fiat rails, you get the regular price. So it kind of incentivizes you to, okay, let me pay with this because I'm getting a discount.
Nobody really wants to come off the Bitcoin, but
right.
If you get a deal,
if you're getting a 21% discount, that's a big deal. So curious, Eric, how has it been? Did you see the synergy between kind of the Bitcoin industry and the products that you guys are selling? I had to do a breakdown of just all the things that you can just do just to be sovereign. Did you see that synergy, or are you just starting to fall down the road?
No, I take a little bit of that direction from Tina, honestly. She's out there talking to a lot more people, engaged in a lot more things. I'm usually working with government or military or large corporations, high net worth individuals to design a plan for their whole communications needs, their family's needs. And then as Tina started picking up bags and solars, and I'm like, well, where are you getting this from, Tina? And, she can tell you the stories of how she came upon these things. But as I started putting these packages together for different customers, kept coming up. Do you have the Faraday? What about bulletproof? Where's the solar? How long does that battery last? What kind of cable do I need? So that's usually where I get involved and make sure it's the right for the application. But no, I can't say that I did see that synergy happening, So I was pretty surprised by it, honestly. I don't think anyone else in our industry in the satellite communications even picked up on it.
This goes hand in hand. It goes hand in hand. I told Tina, I was like, hey, let me buy this, as soon as I found out what it was. And yeah, that's so much synergy between what you guys do at sat123.com and just the overall ethos of just the Bitcoiner wanting to be sovereign, wanting to get off the grid, wanting not to be dependent on, Bitcoiners see it as the state, but, just local infrastructure.
Yeah, I mean, to be able to, like I said, bring your own kit with you, your own power, your own internet, your own ability to communicate wherever you want. We've never had that before on this face of this planet.
Yeah.
For thousands of years, we've never had that.
So you guys have been working in this industry for a long time now, right?
18 years. Yeah, you probably a little more.
Yeah.
Where do you see it being 5 years from now? Because I think what we're seeing is like the escape velocity, when Starlink first came on the scene, right? Like it changed everything, if you were in a rural area. I remember growing up, I went to, and my sister's somewhere here, but I went to a trip and I went to Africa, and I had, I had a friend that I wanted to call, back home, and it was like, it was like $2 a minute or something like that. And then the connection was terrible. And then they had like one computer there, but it would take 30 seconds to load the Facebook page or something. And this was when I was like 15 years old. So like about 15 years ago, this is what I was experiencing. So where do you see this 5 years from now? Do you see more and more people opting out of the terrestrial, infrastructure into something more sovereign?
Yeah, sovereign, or you could say mobile. Something that's not tied to your address. It's not plugged into your wall. You can pick up and go with it as you need to, When I started was back in 2006, and that's pretty much when iPhones and these kind of devices were coming out. And since then, I've just seen a rapid escalation of people actually having their own connectivity that can be portable with them. What I see with Starlink and Elon's great. He really disrupted the whole telecommunications market in a good way, in a way that allows people to do things they never were able to do before, whether it's mine or check wallets or just do work or telemedicine from anywhere they want to be. So being able to remotely work where you want to live, where you want to work, is just we've never had that before. I do think you're going to see other networks like Amazon, and probably there's room for about one or two others where we're going to see speeds over a gigabit probably next year coming from satellites.
That's crazy.
You're going to have the ability to pick probably which satellite you want to work with. Do I want a Starlink or do I want an Amazon? Or maybe there's one panel that allows you to switch between both. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
So I think we're probably going to see within the next 12, 24 months the ability for people to have faster internet than what they pay a terrestrial carrier, copper, fiber, probably less and faster. Yeah. So it's really hard to beat cheaper and faster.
Yeah,
I think that's what's going to happen.
Absolutely. What astonished me is how fast it came onto the scene. Now, Tina, question to you: Where do you see Sat123 5 years from now? And do you see the synergy between Bitcoiners and your company continuing to grow, and why?
Yeah, I think the synergy is going to continue to grow with a lot of people in this country, Bitcoiners and just a lot of preppers, because we're seeing things happening. We're seeing, you called it, you said this is the year of the floods. You called it before all these floods started to happen. You said this is going to be the year of the floods. Look, cell phones are very fragile. They go down. Floods, tornadoes. We just had a big flood that happened in Texas where the cell towers all went down, electricity went down. You have to be prepared. You don't want to be without communication. Without communication, your family doesn't know you're safe. You have no idea the damage that you're causing your family members when they don't know if you're safe or not. And I think that this isn't going to change. I think the industry is going to change a little, and I think it's only going to get better and better. As Eric said, some of the new products are going to be better. But pretty soon, I think in 5 years from now, I think more and more people will have satellite communication. They will have satellite internet. More people will think, you know what, this is portable. I went camping for 2 weeks. I was in the middle of nowhere for 2 weeks in the desert in Nevada. And no one even knew I was working from inside my tent. And everybody thought I was in the office. Yeah. You couldn't do that. And all I had was a Starlink, and I had a 60 watt, which you have over here, the 60 watt solar panel. And that kept everything, and a battery. and that kept everything going for me. And I was working, but the good thing was I was able to turn it off because the reason why I camped out was to get away from the EMF. I just wanted to just get rid of the EMF. So I went furthest away I can get away from any cell towers, from anything, period. So I'd only turn it on for a couple hours a day and use it.
It's a dream life.
Yeah.
Be able to go wherever you want and still take care of the things that got you there.
Absolutely.
Take care of the things that put you on vacation or put you out in the desert. Well, I can still take care of those things. I don't have to just turn it off for 2 weeks and come back to a big long list of to-dos.
Yeah.
Nobody even knew you were gone.
Yeah.
So you tell them, hey, I'm in the middle of nowhere talking to you on my Starlink or whatever. And I think that's the dream of a lot of people, is to be able to keep generating their money, their wealth, take care of their businesses, stay connected, and no one knows the difference.
Yeah. And it held up with the weather. The weather, it's waterproof. So even when we had these massive rains, the unit still worked. And then also it held up, and I didn't even have to change it when I had donkeys. I had donkeys that would come to my camp. Wild donkeys would come to my camp every day, sometimes all day, and they would step on it and walk on it, and I didn't lose connection. It was great.
I think the future of Sat123 keeps looking like that. It keeps looking like, Tina testing the gear, Eric out there making stuff. I do a lot of fishing and hunting and off-grid, and we take this stuff and use it.
Yeah.
Just like our customers would want to live off of it when a hurricane takes us out.
Yeah.
And the evolution of technology is just as fast as that website's going to stay up to date.
Yeah.
And it's a one-stop shop. So if you can buy the internet, buy the phone, the bags, the bulletproof, or just one or the other a la carte.
Yeah.
I think that's where we're going to keep being the best out there.
Yeah. I
Pretty
believe
simple
it.
game plan.
I believe it. And again, it's the sovereignty. That's what I think attracts me the most. It's the sovereignty to escape either from EMF, just go off grid, disappear for a while, but still be able to communicate on your own terms, right? Also protect yourself from censorship, I think is very important. And I love what you guys do. Eric, a vice president of Sat123, and then founder and CEO. Tina, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much. Can we give out his email address in case anybody wants to email for a solution? Because Eric is really good at finding solutions for people. Eric, are you okay?
Yeah. So let's give a little bit of context. So you will provide a custom solution for a specific client.
That's
correct?
what I do.
Okay.
Every day.
So what's your email?
It's going to be eric@satellitephonestore.com. We actually came up with Sat123 because satellitephonestore.com is too long. Yeah. So Sat123 is easier to repeat, say, but it'll be Eric@Sat123 or Eric@SatellitePhoneStore. And that's pretty much what I do. Listen to people, find out what they're trying to prepare for, and pick out all the right pieces for them. Let them test it. Let them try it. Most of my customers are businesses, but I love working with everybody and hearing back. And
So custom solutions depending on their specific circumstance. Fantastic.
I love it.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Smash the like button. You'll find all the information down in the video/podcast description. Again, sat123.com/simply, and we'll have Eric's email there as well. Thank you so much.